vice presidential candidate of the Citizens Revolution movement denounced that immigration authorities tried to detain him and prevent him from leaving the country. And the Chinese government assured to the United States that it is not afraid of Trump's trade war after the White House imposed an increase of 245 tariff on imports. And hundreds of demonstrators marched in the city of Ramallah in the occupied West Bank on Wednesday to commemorate Palestinian Prisoners' Day and demand the release of those detained by the Israeli regime. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. The former vice presidential candidate of Ecuador, Borja of the Citizens Revolution movement, denounced this Wednesday that immigration authorities tried to detain him and prevent him from leaving the country. The incident occurred when the leftist politician tried to enter Colombia with his wife for tourism during Holy Week. He also said that the immigration authorities at the Rumichaca Bridge tried to detain him and even took his identity card from him without a court order, without any explanation and with absolute arrogance. He also added that he considered this action a reprisal for defending a political project that has always believed in social justice, the distribution of prosperity, sovereignty, and dignity. A Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum addressed the recent elections in Ecuador and confirmed her country would not resume relations with the South American nation, while highlighting that Noboa's triumph was doubtful.
That the fact that the President of the Republic did not request a leave of absence in these elections had an impact on the fairness of the electoral campaign and weakened the institutionality of the state. This is stated by the OAS. So, to begin with, we do not have relations with Ecuador, nor will we continue to have relations with Ecuador as long as Noboa holds the office as president, because he was responsible for the invasion of the Mexican embassy, of our sovereignty. Relations are not going to be resumed. Furthermore, his triumph was very doubtful. And this was recognized by the OAS itself. It is another international organization. And the other candidate is saying that there was fraud. So from our side, relations with Ecuador will not be resumed.
And Venezuela categorically rejected the arrival and possible operation of the FTS 01 Guyana vessel to the Stabroek block, a maritime area pending delimitation. Through an official statement published by the Foreign Minister Ivan Hill, Venezuela described this as an illegal action in maritime area pending delimitation, where Venezuela maintains historical and legitimate rights. The statement goes on to state that this maneuver promoted by the government of Guyana in alliance with ExxonMobil constitutes a violation of fundamental principles of international law, which require refraining from adopting unilateral measures in areas without agreed delimitation. Finally, the government highlights that Venezuela does not recognize any concession granted in this area and warns the companies involved that they may be subject to legal action and they will not be granted any rights over the illegally exploited resources. The statement ended by reaffirming Venezuela's commitment to peace, underscoring it will continue defending its sovereignty. And Venezuela is moving towards the confirmation of a new state where the communes are the protagonists. Do you want to know how these communal projects have advanced in Venezuela? Let's take a look at the following report of our colleague Leonardo Urrieta.
Located in the state of Miranda, in the north-central part of the country, is composed by 5 communal councils. The organized community has executed 3 projects approved in the popular consultations that have been carried out in this country.
El primer proyecto del 2024
The first project of 2024 is where we are right now. It is this wall that we recovered, 27 meters by 6 meters, 0.20 wide. And well, we made this boulevard that you can see where we are right now. It took us 20 days to make this wall, and we already had the whole program since it fell in 2020.
The works approved was the construction of 132 stairs to facilitate the mobility of the elderly. As in the case of Mr. Jesus Gonzalez, 65 years old, who had been unable to leave his house for 2 years.
Este proyecto fue el que tanto estábamos esperando, debido a que
This project was the one we were waiting for, because the stairs were very, very damaged. They were not as safe as they are now with the handrails, and with this we all benefit. Some of us can go out more than others because of the health difficulties we have. Some more than others can go out now to do the errands we want. And this project came as a surprise, because we had been waiting for it for a long time. And the day it came, it was a blessing for us. Well, we are asking the citizens themselves, look, these are the projects. Which one is the most convenient for you? Which is the most convenient for the community? For the benefit of all this is the initial part, and from then on people will realize that it is worth it.
Local residents prepare to elect new projects in the fourth popular consultation to be held on April 27th.
The participation more than anything else of the communities, of the people, the members of our community. They are the participants. They are the ones who guarantee the projects, so the importance of celebrating that day is that the whole community participates so that their dream becomes a reality.
Adriana Gonzalez is one of the beneficiaries of the 200 communal warehouses that have been inaugurated in the sector.
Hoy en día ofrecemos charcutería.
Today we offer delicatessen, we offer groceries, and today we are, as they say, enlarged. Now we are going to offer protein, and we are going to offer vegetables, fruits and vegetables. But this is an opportunity to offer a more complex service to the community.
We have to ensure that these bodegas, that this plan, which is framed in the José Antonio de Sucre plan, is a plan that truly delivers to each territory what the plan means for the communal bodega.
The communes work under the national development plan known as the 7 Transformations, promoted by the Venezuelan government, which seeks to build a new state.
En la Cámara de Marcos da Silva, Leonardo Urrieta, TeleSUR, Miranda, Venezuela.
And this Wednesday, Cubans remember a new anniversary of the declaration of the socialist character of their revolution. 64 years ago, on April 16, 1961, Fidel Castro addressed the crowds gathered at the corner 23rd and 12th in Havana during an act honoring the victims of recent U.S. bombings. At that moment, the Cuban leader ratified before the people and the world that their revolution was socialist in nature as the workers vowed to defend their conquest. Every year, Cubans gather at the same corner of the capital city to remember and ratify that same commitment. We now have our first break coming up. We're going to be right back. Welcome back. Relatives of the victims of the Jet Set nightclub tragedy in the Dominican Republic sued the owner of the place for involuntary manslaughter. The relatives informed that they also filed a lawsuit against the Dominican government for ignoring the conditions of the nightclub structure. According to the Department of Civil Defense, 231 people died in or as a consequence of the tragedy, and around 180 were injured. And Argentina's customs sector advances with the 48-hour national strike against the neoliberal measures of Javier Milei's government and the repercussion on the sector's wages. The strike has been extended for 48 hours in protest against the lack of salary agreements with the customs union, which has led to a 50% loss in purchasing power. The sector also denounced that since March 2024, they have not received any wage increase in the midst of the strict price control of wages enforced by the state. In a statement, the Sole Union of Customs Personnel of Argentina announced that this measure would be replicated on April 29th and 30th with the objective of sustaining their plan of struggle. And in Panama, teachers unions continue mobilizing to demand the repeal of Law 462, which reforms the Social Security Savings Fund. This way, the members of the Pueblo Unido por la Vida Alliance warned the government that the fight against the reform will continue in the streets at a national level. Law 462 consolidates the model of privatized individual accounts, a system that, according to studies by the International Labour Organization and the International Social Security Association, has failed in 3 decades. The pressure measure also seeks to reaffirm the rejection of the Panamanian people against the intention of the United States to control the Panama Canal. And U.S. Senator Chris Van Hollen has traveled to El Salvador to check on the status of Kilmar Abrego, deported by mistake during the massive deportation operation ordered by the Trump administration. Van Hollen requested a meeting with the Salvadoran President, Nayib Bukele, to discuss Abrego's health condition and seek his return to the North American country. The official also emphasized that every day he is illegally imprisoned violates due process of law, which is why he will focus on his return. He also denounced the Trump administration's judicial contempt by maintaining the threat of illegal deportation of Latin American citizens. And China assures to the United States that it is not afraid of Trump's trade war after the White House imposed a tariff increase of 245%. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Jian stressed that China has repeatedly declared its solid position on the tariff issue. In this regard, Beijing took its measure to safeguard its legitimate right, international fairness, and justice. Meanwhile, the official pointed out that tariff and trade wars have no winner, and China does not want to wage these wars. Therefore, it is not afraid of them. For his part, the Minister of Economy, Chen Liuyun, said that the imposition of high tariffs by the White House will exert pressure on foreign trade and Beijing's economy.
China's position has been very clear. There is no winner in a tariff war or a trade war. China does not want to fight, but it is not afraid to fight. If the U.S. really wants to resolve the issue through dialogue and negotiation, it should stop exerting extreme pressure, stop threatening and blackmailing, and talk to China on the basis of equality, respect, and mutual benefit.
Malaysia and China ensured the strengthening of bilateral relations by signing 31 Memorandum of Understanding on Wednesday. In this regard, the Malaysian Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Tengku Sarfru stated the signed agreements prove both parties' commitment to boost investment and trade in new technologies, artificial intelligence, and semiconductors. He further highlighted China had been both the main trading partner of Malaysia for over 16 years and one of the largest investors in 10 years. While in the country for an official visit, the Chinese President Xi Jinping, who observed the signing, also met with Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim to debate on bilateral cooperation. In this context, both leaders stressed the need to strengthen cooperation in the face of shocks to global order and economic globalization.
We reached a number of important common understandings on taking our broad cooperation to greater depths. In the face of shocks to global order and economic globalization, China and Malaysia will stand with countries in the region to combat the undercurrents of geopolitical and camp-based confrontation, as well as the counter-currents of unilateralism and protectionism. And together we'll safeguard the bright prospects of our Asian family.
Amid this turbulence, China has been a rational, strong, and reliable partner. Malaysia values this consistency. Malaysia will remain an unwavering and principled friend to China, guided by the wisdom of history and the promise of the future. Our foreign policy is shaped by a clear-eyed vision of our interests. We do not simply favor cooperation over confrontation. We embrace it. We do not merely prefer respect over rivalry. We uphold it. And we choose dialogue not simply because it suits us, but as a cornerstone of lasting peace and prosperity.
Now, for our second short break coming up, we're going to be right back. Welcome back. Hundreds of demonstrators marched in the city of Ramallah in the occupied West Bank on Wednesday to commemorate Palestinian Prisoners' Day and demand the release of more than 10,000 detained by the Israeli regime. Protesters gathered in Manara Square, chanting slogans, waving Palestinian flags, and holding pictures of their relatives in Israeli prisons. Palestinian detainees have denounced for years the mistreatment and abuse they suffer at the hands of Israeli officials during captivity, which range from regular beatings to medical neglect and hunger. The Zionist regime has intensified its detention campaign since October 2023, capturing thousands of Palestinians, with children making up a significant portion of the figures, an act that is heavily condemned by Palestinian activists and human rights organizations.
That all officials exert pressure to free our prisoners and empty the prisons. My son Ahmed was released about 2 months ago, after spending 20 months in captivity. His situation is difficult and tragic. He left prison very tired, and to this day we visit many doctors to treat him. We do not want to wait until they tell us that their brother, Fadi, was martyred in prison due to medical neglect and starvation.
And in Sudan, the armed group Rapid Support Forces announced the creation of a de facto government contrary to the current Sudanese state. 2 years into the war between the government and the terrorist group, the Rapid Support Force established a parallel state with the objective of advancing control of the country. It also detailed that other armed movements, such as the Liberation of Sudan, joined the parallel administration. Since April 15, 2023, nearly 24,000 citizens were killed, while another 13 million were forced to flee their homes as a result of the conflict between government forces and irregular groups. The Russian army took control of the town of Valentinovka in eastern Donbass. As reported on Wednesday by the Telegram channel, Operation said Russian Spring War correspondents in their offensive towards the bastion of Konstantinovka, they broke through the Ukrainian defense and seized the area. The source cited that to the west of the later village, the Russian troops managed to capture a stronghold of Ukrainian armed forces along a forest belt. Ukrainian military analysts admitted that Russian army successfully stormed a Ukrainian stronghold west of Alexandropol, capturing a group of its soldiers. And Pope Francis received a group of doctors and staff from Rome's Gemelli Hospital in the Vatican and thanked them for their good work. During the 20-minute meeting, the Pontiff expressed his gratitude to physicians and staff at Rome's Gemelli Hospital, along with members of its affiliated university and structures, where he received medical care for 38 days for a polymicrobial respiratory infection that resulted in bilateral pneumonia. The Pope was released from the hospital under protected discharge on March 23rd, with his condition showing further slight respiratory mobility and voice-related improvements, as noted in briefs from the Holy See Press Office. And member countries of the World Health Organization approved the first global treaty to address future pandemics. At least 190 countries voted in favor of the proposal that aims to improve coordination as well as a more equitable distribution of available resources. The agreement will be presented to the health plenary scheduled for May after 3 years of intense negotiations. The treaty is based on historical epidemiological evidence which assures that the COVID-19 pandemic will not be the last. Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. Remember to join us on our social media and check our website at telesurenglish.net. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.